Every day, many users around the world browse Instagram, with each of their feeds personally customized to the content they typically consume. However, on February 26th of this year, something disturbing occurred that shocked everyone. On this particular day, millions of people opened their Instagram accounts and viewed their Reels feed to find something traumatizing. For whatever reason, their Reels feed consisted of almost exclusively NSFW content. People were bombarded with graphic videos of people being set on fire, being shot, and much worse. These weren't typical algorithm recommendations either, as this was widespread and happening even to people who never browsed this kind of content before. A lot of early reports of this came out of the United States, however, this phenomenon was worldwide. And to make matters worse, there seemed to be no way to stop it. Users tried enabling sensitive content control and resetting the suggested content, but the moment they reopened their Reels feed, the content started appearing again. In a matter of hours, this was all over the internet, people making online posts and memes discussing this. In some of these online posts, people expressed how much this event affected them, with some people even claiming that the following day they weren't able to sleep. To add to the backlash from the situation, other people were talking about how this was the breaking point for them and that they've decided to delete Instagram altogether. As more and more people became affected by the glitch, people quickly scrambled to find an explanation for what was happening. At first, Meta, which owns Instagram, was radio silent about this, but that didn't stop people from coming up with theories about what was going on. One of the first theories about what caused this was that it was a hack that dumped all of this content into everyone's Reel feed en masse. While this was certainly a possibility, the only thing that made this unlikely was the fact that no one took credit for it. Usually with an attack of this scale, the perpetrator is likely to want to take credit for what they did. Without confirmed evidence of a breach or anyone claiming responsibility, this became a less likely theory. Other people theorized that it was a glitch with Instagram's content moderation/algorithm model. Earlier this year, Meta did say that they were going to change the way they enforce content moderation rules, since the current system had some people being wrongly censored.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship.
This decision by Meta has caused some recent controversy, and to add on top of all of that, Meta also recently fired several of their fact-checkers to replace them with a community-based model, sort of like Twitter's community notes feature.
We're going to get rid of fact-checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US.
Knowing that Meta has been making changes to these features does make it likely that this is where the issue might be. After all, this type of graphic content is uploaded to the platform basically all day, every day. We just normally don't see it because Instagram's filters catch it before it reaches us. If Meta was already making changes to their content moderation system, it's not at all unreasonable to assume that some sort of change they were rolling out broke the current system, or worse, was far too loose with what it allowed to get past the filter. Some other theories that people speculated on definitely verge more on the conspiracy side of things. Some threw out the idea that what we saw on this day was an accidental deployment of a secret feed available to powerful people who want to see this kind of stuff. However, if you like conspiracies and want something a bit less crazy, then you might find it interesting how some people speculated that this might have been part of an intentional desensitization algorithm that got pushed a bit too hard. The idea being that Meta and other tech companies may be building algorithms with the purpose of desensitizing people to graphic content like this. The reason why such an algorithm exists is to either prepare us to be less shocked by real-life shocking events these companies plan to carry out, or just to condition us to view more graphic content, since that type of content is what leads to the most engagements. Now, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I usually hate conspiracy theories. However, I actually think this one might be worth considering to some extent, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean in a moment. Now, if this event wasn't already bizarre enough, there's actually more to make this even weirder. Oddly enough, just about a week before this incident occurred, a strange meme appeared that had an uncanny link to this event.
Here are 3 pieces of advice for February 26th. Number 1, if your homeboy asks to hang out, go hang out with him. He's probably just bored and trying to do something for fun. Or maybe he's hungry and wants to get food. Number 2, leave your doors unlocked and wide open. This way, it's easier to get in and out of your house. Number 3, have fun.
And the week leading up to all of this, a meme appeared out of nowhere that confusingly mentioned the date February 26th. Given that the Instagram glitch occurred on February 26th, it was something that stood out to people. The actual origin of these memes was a joke about February 26th being National Backdoor Day or Slime Your Homeboy Day. If you think that term means what I thought it meant when I first read it, you're probably looking at the screen like this, but to slime someone actually is just a slang term that means to betray someone. Now this meme likely has nothing to do with the incident that occurred on Instagram on the same day, but it was definitely an odd coincidence. After a day full of confusion from Instagram users, Meta finally released a statement about the incident on February 27th. A spokesperson stated that they resolved an error that flooded the personal Reels feed of Instagram users with violent and graphic videos worldwide. However, they did not disclose the actual cause of the issue, which kept people guessing what went wrong. According to Meta's website, they use internal technology and a team of more than 15,000 reviewers to help detect disturbing imagery. So it was concerning that such a thorough system failed on such a spectacular level. The only further information Meta provided was in communication between them and a journalist from 404 Media, where Meta stated that the issue had nothing to do with loosening their content moderation policies. Despite this, the public remained skeptical. Amidst the rumors, some sources started to circulate the claim that this error was the result of Instagram's content moderation team going on strike as a result of policy changes, but this was never confirmed to be true. Even though the glitch was finally resolved, this was not the end of things. Upon doing more research, it was discovered that this was not the first time something like this had occurred on Instagram. A Washington Post article from 2023 describes a similar event happening 2 years ago, where one day, a bunch of users on Instagram signed in to find their feed flooded with violent videos despite never looking at content like that before. People took to social media to report on the issue before the cause was found. The 2023 situation wasn't exactly identical to the recent situation, mainly in that it was not the result of a content moderation glitch. The actual cause of this was that, at the time, meme pages discovered that posting shocking videos was great for driving up engagement. So, a bunch of meme pages exploited this fact by coming together and mass uploading a bunch of graphic content to their pages to artificially increase engagement. Because so many people were doing this all at once, a lot of this content leaked into the recommended algorithm of other users. You may be wondering why I'm mentioning this incident at all, and what makes this so eerie isn't even the fact that it shares a vague similarity to the recent event, but rather the date that the article was published, February 26th. Coincidence? Probably, but the number of coincidences regarding this event only did more to put more eyes on this. Now, earlier in this video, I mentioned that some people speculated that this incident was more than just an accidental glitch in the system, but that it may have possibly been a look into an algorithm specifically designed to desensitize users. Although this sounds a little crazy, I promise I'd come back to this because I actually think this might be closer to reality than one might suspect, but maybe not quite in the way that you might be thinking. The fact that this glitch happened so shortly after Meta announced that they were making changes to their content moderation system is unlikely to be pure coincidence. Meta, along with other big tech companies, have been slowly moving toward less censorship on their platforms, which has been seen as a controversial move by some. The reason behind this loosening of content moderation is something that has been questioned, and a lot of people have jumped straight to believing it has some sort of political motive. Like Zuckerberg wants to push more towards certain political messages that are too easily censored by the previous moderation system. I actually don't think this is the case, mainly because Meta has constantly flip-flopped on their censorship policies based on what was popular at the time. From 2016 to 2018, Facebook had no problem allowing unfiltered political misinformation to spread in order to help drive engagement. That didn't really stop until the 2018 Cambridge Analytica scandal, where Facebook received so much backlash that they tightened their content moderation policies to stay out of trouble. Then, just a few years later, they made a move that seemed to be totally opposite of that. After Facebook banned Donald Trump in 2021 after the January 6th event, they unbanned him in 2023, saying the public should be able to hear from political leaders. I really don't think Zuckerberg or any of these other big tech companies care about pushing any kind of political agenda. All they really want is to stay away from regulatory scrutiny and make sure that users stay as engaged with their platforms as possible. This is where the idea of desensitization comes in. The concept of big tech companies pushing toward desensitizing their users is nothing new, and it's been happening for a long time now. One of the most clear-cut examples of something like this being exposed was in the Facebook emotional contagion experiment from 2012. This experiment, conducted in 2012 but only publicly revealed in 2014, saw Facebook's internal researchers unknowingly manipulate the newsfeed of 689,003 users for 1 week to study whether exposure to more positive or negative posts would affect users' emotions. The experiment had 2 main conditions: the positive reduction group, in which users saw fewer positive posts from friends, and the negative reduction group, in which users saw fewer negative posts from friends. The Facebook algorithm would filter a user's post based on which conditional group they were in to see if users would unconsciously mirror the emotions they were exposed to. The experiment found that users exposed to fewer positive posts were more likely to post negative updates, and vice versa. This provided evidence that emotions could be contagious even through social media. The data from the experiment was later anonymized and shared with Cornell University and the University of California. The reason this experiment was so controversial was for a few reasons. First of all, lack of informed consent. The 600,000 plus users involved in this were never told they were a part of the experiment. Because Facebook is considered a private company, they were not required to follow informed consent procedures as strictly as a public research company would have. However, to cover their bases, Facebook did still make a mention of this experiment in their terms of service, but they worded it intentionally vaguely so that even if someone did read it, they probably wouldn't have fully understood what was actually happening. There were also ethical concerns. Most research companies need to have experiments be approved by an ethics board before they can actually begin. Once again, because Facebook is a private company, this didn't apply to them. This is one of the biggest concerns, since some critics argued that messing with people's emotions could have an impact on their mental health. So while all of this was legal, it did raise concerns about how tech companies conduct these types of experiments. Since we know that big tech companies are no stranger to manipulating what people see to influence their emotions, it begs the question, was Instagram's February 26th incident evidence of Meta intentionally pushing for desensitization? Maybe, but I think focusing so hard on that question misses the point entirely. We've already established that Zuckerberg doesn't have any actual political or ideological loyalties. He simply pushes for what is most popular. So if big tech is pushing for desensitization, they're only doing it because this type of content is what gets the most engagement. And who's really to blame for that? It's easy to want to blame some sort of centralized authority for the things that we're seeing, but with everything being so controlled by algorithms nowadays, you really can't even do that. If you're seeing something you don't like becoming popular on social media, it's because you played a part in making it popular. The truth is, we feed the machine just as much as the machine feeds us. There are so many people that gain a following based off of nothing but hate. A perfect case study on this is Lily. Last year, she went viral because of some sort of TikTok clip where she said the N-word, and everyone made a huge deal out of it and tried to cancel her. Instead, it backfired and she gained a pretty massive following. And now there's people complaining about her having a platform when you're literally the ones that gave her the platform. It's like throwing gasoline on a campfire and then complaining when it becomes a forest fire. If everyone just ignored her, then I'm sure hardly anyone would even know who she is today. But people just can't help themselves. When something makes them upset, they just have to react to it. If you genuinely care about making social media less of a dark place, then try this. Next time you see something on social media that pisses you off, instead of telling them how they're wrong or trying to cancel them, just take a deep breath and keep scrolling. I guarantee you within 5 minutes you'll probably have completely forgotten about them. Or go ahead, feed the machine, and keep contributing to the system. What happened on February 26th wasn't the work of some sinister corporation pulling the strings. It wasn't a grand conspiracy, and it wasn't an accident designed to distract us. But in a way, it was also more than just a glitch. It was one brief moment when the system stopped filtering the world for us, and at that moment, we didn't just see a failure of moderation, we saw a glimpse of the future that we're creating. Because if we keep shaping these platforms the way we have, if we keep engaging the way we do, then this isn't just a one-time mistake. This is where we're headed. And if we don't like it, then it's not up to them to change it. It's up to us. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.